Hi, I'm Michael Hartwig. I'm the head ref for the Kansas City region. I wanted to give you a little bit of information about robot designs and game scores from last year. This is something that we normally do at Coach's Workshop. This year is different in a lot of ways, and not having the presentation is no exception. However, I still wanted to give you a little bit of info on and some analysis about what happened last year. And besides, I'm just geeky and I wanted to do it anyway. So I figured if I had it, I might as well show you. Two things, as I said. One, the scores from last year and a little bit about how they trend. And then some information about what kind of robots teams build here. Last year showed the same basic information that I've seen for the 5 or 6 years that I've been doing this. There's really no difference every year. The region is pretty consistent in how it works, how the scores go, and the kinds of robots teams do. Obviously, this year is going to be very different. So who knows? But I really don't. I'll be surprised if the trend doesn't continue again this year. This is some information that I want to try and help you decide which tournament you're going to go to. There's common knowledge that the longer you wait, the better your team will do because the kids will be more ready and they'll have had more time to work on the robot. You can see from the scores that that's not necessarily the case. High score for the region was in week 2 at center. It was actually even higher than the score at the same team scored at champs. Not much, but it was a little higher. But you can see that there's a somewhat of an upward trend, but not necessarily all. And some of the ups aren't really that high. Like I said, this has been going on this way for a long time. I don't know why. Some theories, but it doesn't really matter why. The point is it actually does happen. There's really two problems with our kids are going to be more ready when we go to the last tournament. Everybody that goes to that tournament is also having the same amount of time your kids do. So you're not going to be ready to do better as compared to other teams because they're doing the same thing you're doing. So if you go to week 1, all the teams have had the same prep time. If you're going to week 5, same thing. The other problem with it is if your team is like our teams tend to be, they do half the work the week before the tournament anyway. So we could go to week 1 and they do that. We go to week 5, they still do that. Hopefully your kids are more organized than that. But I've talked to a number of coaches over the years and our team isn't the only team that does that. You can see that there were a lot of the top 10 scores. 6 of them actually were done at champs, but 4 weren't. And also note that the one team actually went a little lower at champs. So again, the qualifying tournaments can have very good scores as in relationship to the entire rest of the year. There were 43 robots at champs and 32 of them actually increased their score, which was quite a bit higher than the last couple of years. And that's, it's awesome. It's really good that they were able to do that. A few went down, some of the same. So for whatever reason, those 11 teams, even though they had the time to work on it, didn't, or they had problems at champs, which can happen. I mean, tournaments, things go wrong. But it's still, the end result is the same. Scores don't always go up. Sometimes do, but not always. Obviously, the robot game and what your team is going to do there isn't the only reason you decide which tournament you're going to go to. This year, with them all being virtual, I don't know that location is really should matter much. But of course, if you decide that they want more time to work on their innovation project, obviously that's more important. So that's fine. I'm not trying to tell you that you should or should not go to any particular tournament. I just want you to have information that may help you decide. When I saw this start happening, I quit worrying about going to later tournaments because I used to do the same thing. Okay. So now that we have decided to go to which tournament, let's talk about what kind of robot we're going to take. It's really, really easy to get caught up into, we got to have a great robot. It's got to score a lot of points. No, not necessarily. First of all, the kids aren't here to build a great robot. They're here to learn a process and teamwork and some engineering skills. And if the result is a robot that scores a lot, great, but that really shouldn't be the primary point. Excuse me. As a coach, you really shouldn't worry about what they build, and you shouldn't feel great if they build a great robot, or bad if they don't. If you really want to have a great robot, the only real way to guarantee that is to build your own. That's what I do. I try to get it out of my system. It helps for part of it. It's easy for me to say, don't worry about what your kids build, but obviously we all do, and I do it too. But you can do it, and you can play around, and if that helps you relax around what the kids do, then that's great. A lot of teams will see a YouTube video or a bunch of YouTube videos, and they got these huge complex robots that are scoring massive numbers of points and doing multiple missions at the same time. And I go, oh, gee, we got to do that. Well, no, you don't. Again, that's not the point of why they're here. But also, you don't know who built that YouTube robot. Some of those are adults. So if you think about what you've seen, some of the videos, you don't ever see who runs the robot. And even if you do see kids running it, you don't know if that was the coach's robot, and then after they run it, they go back to working on their own. In other countries, kids can be in FLL longer than they can in the US. So you can have 16-year-old kids that have been doing FLL for 7 years. They're going to have a lot more experience than any rookie team around here, and actually any team around here, or almost any team around here. So you got to consider the source and use that to just let go and say, we don't have to do that. Let's do what we need to do. I put robots in several categories here. The kitbot is whatever comes from the instructions with the robot you have. So the EV3 comes with a set of instructions. NXT had one. Spike Prime has a default robot that they have you build. That's the kitbot. That's what I call it. They tend to be fairly simple. They have a simple drivetrain. They're not necessarily the most accurate steering, but they're not bad. They're certainly very capable robots. The enhanced kitbot is something that's based on that chassis, but they've changed it. Now, sometimes you get something so modified that you can hardly tell that it really is a kitbot underneath all of that. But generally, when teams enhance it, they changed the wheels out. They added side rails. They put some more structure on so they can make attachments go on more easily. They replaced the ball caster at the back because they don't like the way that steers. Generally, when I put a team and say they're an enhanced kitbot, they really haven't done much to it. It's still almost always just the kitbot. Custom robots are built it from scratch. I've seen teams base robots on designs that are out on the web, which is fine. I don't have a problem with our kids using things that they find on the web as long as they can explain it to me so I know they actually understand it. Copying just copy, not so good. Using information to build on, obviously that's what science and engineering has been doing for a long time. So there's nothing wrong with that. So I don't say that as a bad thing. And then some robots get so complex and custom that they're just undescribable. You can see that we have well over 2/3 of the robots are based on a kitbot in the region last year. And almost half of them were just this straight basic kitbot. At Champs, those numbers went down a little bit. it was still almost 2/3, and the balance between enhanced and just plain kitbot changed, but it's still well over half of the robots there were kitbots. The custom bots, yeah, they tended to score a little better. Of the top 10 scores in the region last year, 6 of them were from custom bots. But there are 2 teams in that list that had 2 scores in that top 10. So instead of 6 robots that scored better somewhat better than the kitbots that were in that list, there were really only 4 robots represented. And the kitbots weren't all at the bottom of the top 10, by the way. Again, it is what it is. It doesn't matter. The kids that are there and enjoy running their robots and learn something, that's the important part. If they do that by using a kitbot and just going with that, if they do it by starting from scratch and building the most wonderful thing anyone's ever seen, that's fine too. Now, if your team's definition of great robot isn't scores well, but is, wow, that really looks cool, then by all means, that's a good way to build a great robot. There are trade-offs, obviously. The kitbot, as I said, is a pretty decent robot, but it's not. You can certainly make something that tracks better and that has a better ability to add things to it. And it makes sense, and you can see that the scores bear that out. But again, well over half the teams didn't bother to do that. And notice for the one thing that they have as an advantage on, they didn't spend time building and designing that custom robot, so they had more time to work on something else. More programming, more attachment design, work on their innovation project, core values, teamwork activities, all sorts of stuff. So it may be a good trade-off to say, we don't want to spend that much time on the robot. Let's just use this and let's go on. Our teams have used the same robot design for the last 3 years. The kids that return come back and say, this works okay. We want to spend time doing something else. So, okay, that works for us. It may not work for you. I've got here some resource links that I thought you might find helpful. Obviously, the FLL website is a biggie. First Steps is important. It's got some really good stuff if you are a rookie coach, and even if you're not, there's still some things you can probably learn there. These 2, EV3 lessons and Prime lessons, are done by a couple of brothers in Pennsylvania that were FLL kids. In fact, I think they won Worlds one year. They've done an immense amount of outreach. They've got a great mobile app, scoring app, and these sites are just chock full of robot designs, programming lessons, core values, activities, teamwork activities. They don't limit themselves to the robot. So I really recommend that you look at whichever one of those is appropriate for whichever robot you have. And if you're still using an NXT, then go to the EV3 lessons, because they do have some NXT stuff there as well. Okay, obviously, you're not going to be able to ask me questions right now, but if you do have questions, please email me. I'm always happy to hear from teams and hear from coaches. And anything you've got about the robot game or robots themselves, I'm more than happy to correspond with you. So thanks for listening, and I hope you and your team have great seasons.